evening. It's 7:30. This is the Town of Austining Planning Board for December 18th through 2019. The first item on the agenda is the MGM subdivision for 5 Hawks Avenue, proposed 2-lot subdivision. Continuing the public hearing, is the applicant here?
Yes. Good evening, Chair, members of the board. As you said, we've been here a few times going over the plans for the subdivision looked at 5 Hawks Avenue. Since the last time we were here, the plans have not significantly changed. There have been a few alterations made to the mitigation plan and the landscape plan for comments from Mr. Solman's office. We received also today some comments from Mr. Ciarcia that him and I had discussed that are not an issue. We'll make those changes regarding the septic for the individual lots. That's not an issue. We received the resolution, which we have gone through and seen no major issues in there as well. We received comments from the conservation.
The EAC?
Yes, thank you. We reviewed those, see no issues with that as well. We can make changes as necessary for that. I believe they just wanted some things added to the landscape plan and mitigation plan, just extra information. We're happy to make those changes as well.
Okay, are those already built into the resolution?
They pretty much are, yes. The marking of the trees, tree inventory, the resolution calls for the removal of invasive species and trash in the wetland buffer area, the wetland. So yeah, they're pretty much covered, yes.
Okay, and does the proposed resolution also cover Dan's comments as well?
In a sense, it refers to Dan's previous memo, but it also includes any future memos he issues. So, yes.
Okay, does the board want to go through comments from the resolution? David, why don't you go through that?
Sure. So the first, there are actually 3 resolutions. Minor subdivision plot approval, wetlands permit approval, and tree removal permit approval. So, and you had this previously, so I won't belabor these things. The first page identifies the applicant, the approvals being sought, the fact that this is a 2-lot subdivision, and then the second whereas has the identification, the tax map identification, and the location of the property. The third whereas gives the zoning and the size of the property. The next whereas, the fact that Dale Brook is at the rear of the property and a substantial portion of the property is wetland and wetland buffer. Next, the fact that the planning board is the lead agency. And then we list all of the application materials, which take us to the top of page 2. And then we have some items that are fairly boilerplate. The planning board is familiar with the property and its surroundings, has reviewed the project in accordance with various standards of the code. The fact that the planning board has received comments and recommendations from the planning board's engineering consultant, town planning consultant, town and environmental advisory committee, public, and others, and has given due consideration to the comments. The fact that the planning board referred this matter to the Westchester County Planning Board, and the Westchester County Planning Board responded, and the planning board has given due consideration to the comments they made. The fact that this is a minor subdivision as defined by the town subdivision regulations. And next, that a public hearing was opened on November 6th, 2019 and closed presumably tonight, during which period all persons interested were given an opportunity to be heard. Then we have, now therefore be it resolved, and we have a negative declaration which the planning board is adopting for the 18 reasons which take us to page 6. And then we have, be it further resolved, that the planning board hereby grants minor subdivision plat approval to the project. And then the conditions are, prior to the endorsement of the subdivision plat by the planning board chairman, the following conditions shall be fulfilled to the satisfaction of the planning board. First, that a plat has to be prepared by a licensed land surveyor and submitted. And it has to meet the requirements of the code and contain all the pertinent and appropriate notes and elements from the other subdivision drawings that should be on a plat. Next, that the subdivision drawings on the plat have to meet Dan's approval as per his memo dated October 2, 2019, and any subsequent memos. And the plat shall thereafter be endorsed by Dan. Next, Westchester County Department of Health approval for the water supply and sewage disposal facilities. Next, a letter from the Village of Ossining, which confirms the adequacy of the municipal water system to serve the proposed lots. Next, a statement from the town receiver of taxes that indicates that all taxes due on the property have been paid. Next would be a recreation fee for one additional lot to be required in an amount which is current when the planning board chairman signs the plat. Next, all outstanding application review fees shall be paid. And then we have conditions, and, oh goodness, it starts with 2, 3, 4. That's not right. Thanks. I think there is a note, but it's not, doesn't say exactly this on the plan already. There shall be no direct driveway access to lots 1 and 3 from Croton Dam Road. Next, a note that doesn't quite say this on the plat right now, on the plans right now. The homes on lots 1 and 2 shall not be shifted closer to the southerly lot line at the building permit phase of this project without additional planning board or architectural review board approval. And then we have some site distance comments here. So this has to be done properly. Might conceivably involve the adjustment of the driveways. It's a little bit too early to tell, but we can work on that with Tom once this is approved. And then I, a draft legal conservation easement to be filed with the subdivision plat in the Westchester County Clerk's office shall be submitted for review and approval of the town attorneys. And those are all the things that have to be done before the plat gets signed by the planning board chairman. And then prior to the issuance of building permits for lots 1 and 2, the applicant shall secure architectural review board approval from the architectural review board for the home on each lot. And then we have general conditions, and these are pretty much boilerplate. First is the payment of review fees. Secondly, the filing of the plat and the conservation easement in the Westchester County Clerk's office. And then the filing of the subdivision plat and the legal conservation easement to the town building and planning department once it's been filed in the county clerk's office. All construction shall be in accordance with best management practices, and no portion of its approval by the planning board shall take effect until all conditions herein are met. So that's the subdivision resolution.
Okay. Would it be okay if we insert the latest memo from Dan concerning, in addition to the October 2nd, 2019 design at the December 18th one as well?
Sure.
And just inserting that date, but keeping the rest of that so that if Dan has further comments, it will be incorporated as well.
Yeah. Got it.
And then you'll make that change with the two from the paragraph numbers.
Yes.
Any other comments on the line, on the board? Are there any members? Sure.
I'm sorry, I do. I was wondering if you had seen or had a chance to incorporate any of the suggested changes from a letter by Donna Sharrett. It came to us by mail, and it's here in copy.
Sorry, I believe it was incorporated.
It was incorporated in these changes?
David, the letter from Donna was incorporated in this?
I incorporated a bit of that, but I didn't, not wholesale.
Okay. So she had some very specific recommendations for the plantings, what will survive in that environment, how to protect them from the deer, and so forth.
There's deer fencing being proposed.
There is deer fencing being proposed. Good. Monostrip of row of trees should be avoided. I think have you considered that? I haven't seen the planting, but can you tell me whether?
That's
you
not
were-
reflected on our current plan. Our landscape architect reviewed these comments, and he prepared some responses. That one specifically, he disagreed with her assessment, as that is, it's common, and he feels it's attractive and presents a formal landscape feature. That would be a matter of taste, I would think. It seems like it would specifically be along the driveways, the only area where that, I think, is.
Do you have a sheet which shows the planting?
Yeah, should be one of the later sheets.
And it's more a matter of resiliency than the attractiveness? The one is subjective, the other is not?
I think he felt that was, yeah, it's, so it is also along the borders of
The lot lines.
the lot lines as well.
So, for example, between the two homes, there's a lot line, right? And he's got a row of trees along that lot line. If he starts to stagger those, there won't be any backyard for the home in the front.
Well, that's if they're staggered laterally, but if they're just staggered in terms of the species, you could maintain the same line.
No, I think she's talking about staggering the location.
No, I think she's talking about the species, monocrop rows.
Yeah, that's,
Right. So that's more the issue. I agree that you can keep a line. A line looks nice and doesn't use up too much two-dimensional space. But monocrops have been getting phased out, recommendations as more.
I can speak with I can't speak to the effectiveness of it. I can speak with our landscape architect and see if he can prepare a either address it more directly or in some manner.
Okay, please do that.
Yeah, I know that he went through these and he felt that there were.
What is that species? Do you know offhand, or can you read it?
I can't see it from here. It is. I believe it's a white spruce.
Okay.
Their primary function would be for screening. So we would want, they would be for screening, so we would want something evergreen in there.
And I assume that's on the approved list of
Yes, I believe so.
trees, okay. What about she recommends a 5-year guarantee for plant materials. What is the current plan for maintaining the plantings?
I believe it's a 1-year guarantee. I don't know if that's.
you mean a guarantee in terms of,
So she's saying, that a 5-year guarantee for the plant, for the health plants should be.
there is a 5-year term for the wetland mitigation plantings
Okay, all right.
in the buffer. But these are going to be up to the homeowners to.
Okay, so as long as in the buffer, there's the 5-year, that I'm satisfied
We're gonna
with
get to that in the
These are more
wetlands.
ornamental, and so that's less of an issue. Okay, please do take up the monocrop issue with your landscape architect. And
Yeah, I'll discuss it with him and either he'll prepare a formal response or brief me on how he will relay his response to it.
Okay, and I would say encourage them to reach out to this citizen, Donna Sharrett, who is extremely knowledgeable and ready to share information. And if you don't have her information, that's my only comment.
So I'll draft a condition talking about the monocrop aspect of this and how it has to be a number of different species, acceptable species.
Terrific. I think you want.
And he shouldn't have, Steve shouldn't have any problem with having more than one species.
No. I would think that you would want to maintain, it's being used for screening, you would want to maintain the evergreen or
Right.
appropriate for screening
Yeah.
plantings.
Right,
I agree
right,
with
different
that.
types of evergreen.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be great.
So I'll draft a condition to that effect.
Terrific.
Yeah, I misread what Donna had written. Yeah. Yeah.
you want it.
Just the way you're showing it here.
Right. Like
Yeah,
just
yes,
different-
yeah, exactly, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right, it's okay if it's aligned in this sort of a setting. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Very good. Are there any members of the public need to speak on this matter? Okay, seeing none. What action do we need to take?
Well, there are three resolutions. We've gone through one, and if you so desire, you can approve all three tonight.
All right, why don't we continue with the other two then?
Okay. The second resolution is a resolution of wetlands permit approval. So the first page is exactly the same as the first page of the last resolution. The second page is a bit different. Instead of referring to the zoning law and subdivision regulations, it talks about Chapter 105, freshwater wetlands, watercourses, and water body protection of the code of the town. This one says that the negative declaration was issued tonight, assuming that you approve the first resolution first. By the time you get to this resolution, the neg deck will have been adopted by you tonight as part of the first resolution. Toward the bottom of page 2, now therefore be it resolved, the planning board is making these findings that it needs to make 1 through 5 as per the wetlands law in order to approve something like this, which includes, as for here, all proposed culverts shall meet the guidelines of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for the mitigation of aquatic wildlife if applicable, and any pipes installed to convey a watercourse shown on the USGS maps are classified by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation as A, B, or C will require culverts designed in accordance with stream crossing guidelines. These stream crossing guidelines document published by the DEC. And then we have, be it further resolved, and then these are the conditions that would have to be fulfilled prior to a building permit for the project being issued. The applicant shall comply with the following items subject to the review and approval of the planning board. The applicant shall enter into a landscape maintenance agreement with the town of Austin that includes but is not limited to the wetland mitigation plantings. The applicant shall submit a 5-year wetland and wetland buffer monitoring and maintenance plan. Next, the wetland mitigation plan shall include a note which states that irrigation shall be provided on a weekly basis for a 5-year period and ongoing for the duration of the proposed use of the site as per the 5-year wetland and wetland buffer monitoring and maintenance plan and the landscape maintenance agreement. A note shall be added to the wetland mitigation plan which states that the applicant shall install at the time of planting permanent deer fencing around the wetland mitigation planting. The deer fencing shall be installed so as to allow the passage of amphibians and reptiles. The detail of the deer fencing, which meets the satisfaction of the planning board, shall be shown on the wetland mitigation plan. And then there's to be a note on the wetland mitigation plan which states that the applicant shall remove all invasive plants and garbage/trash which may be located in the on-site wetlands and wetland buffer areas. And then there needs to be a performance guarantee posted and a maintenance guarantee. And then prior, now on the middle of page 4, condition B, the following conditions shall be fulfilled prior to the issuance of a CO for the project by the building inspector. So the building inspector, this is our standard paragraph which says that when the building inspector is asked for the issuance of a CO, the planning board gets notified and can go out and look at the site and the improvements and make any reasonable modifications it so desires. And then condition C, these are general conditions. Application review fees paid. And these are boilerplate, the rest are boilerplate conditions from the wetlands law. And that would be 2 through 13. You've seen these many times before. Then we have a resolution of tree removal permit approval. So the first page is the same. Second page refers to the tree removal permit chapter and the fact that you've reviewed this in accordance with that. The fact that a neg deck was issued earlier this evening. Toward the bottom of page 2, now therefore be it resolved, and these are findings the planning board needs to make in order to approve a tree removal permit. Be it further resolved, following conditions shall be fulfilled prior to any tree removal permit taking place on the site. And this is something that the EAC had wanted The trees on the site shall be marked to the satisfaction of the building inspector so as to clearly indicate which trees shall be preserved versus which trees may be removed. Further, the applicant shall satisfy the building inspector with regard to the protection of the trees which are to be preserved. And then condition B, prior to the issuance of a CO, this is the same as the condition in the last resolution. And then condition C, general conditions. And these, the first is application review fees being paid, and the next two are straight out of the wetland, the tree protection code.
Any comments, questions from the board? Any further comments from the staff this time? Any members of the public wish to speak on these two resolutions? Seeing none. Okay, I guess we have to do it in order.
You want to close the public hearing first?
Yes.
Okay. Could I have a motion?
So move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay. Any objections? Okay. Public hearing is closed. Could I have a motion on the first resolution?
Move that we adopt the resolution approving the minor subdivision plat
As modified.
as modified.
Second.
Okay. Any objections? Okay. That's approved. Can I have a motion on the second resolution on wetlands?
Move that we adopt the resolution approving the wetlands permit.
Any objections?
No.
Okay. Approved. Can I have a motion on the third resolution on the tree removal permit?
Move that we adopt the tree removal permit. Nice.
Any objections?
No.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the, subdivision 51st Croton Dam Road, or two-lot subdivision. This is not a public hearing.
No. It's the first time you're seeing this.
Applicant here?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mike Dobler, Master Monaco Engineering, here representing Mark Petrucci.
Did you want to make additional comments at this time?
Certainly. The applicant is proposing to subdivide a 1.28 acre lot to create one additional lot. There's an existing single-family residence currently on one lot. The property consists of 1.28 acres in an R15 zone. property is serviced by public utilities, water, and sewer.
Have you had a chance to look at the comments from Mr. Garcia, Cecilia?
Yes, I have.
Any response to those?
They are all able to be addressed.
Does staff have any other comments at this time?
Haven't reviewed this yet.
I did have an opportunity to discuss it with the building inspector, because the question came up regarding the existing house and the frontage. And there is, I guess, a provision in the zoning code that does allow us to do this, because basically lot 1's a zero frontage on a town road lot. So that was the issue. But apparently, I guess there's a provision in the zoning code that allows it if it's 50 foot wide, the access.
Lot number 1 doesn't have zero frontage. Do you mean?
Well, it has zero frontage on a public road. It's a private driveway.
No, but don't, oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
That this would create zero frontage.
Right, but there's, I was actually surprised, because I talked to the building inspector about it, because there is a, because I'm sure it'll come up, so we wanted to look into it. I have the code here, but there's a provision that if the access is 50 foot wide, or at least that would seem to be his interpretation of it, that then it counts as street frontage.
Yeah, it basically says that when, I drafted it many years ago, when there's a lot connected to the street by a strip of land, that strip of land has to be 50 feet wide.
So basically a flag lot,
Yes.
has to have, the pole has to be 50 feet wide.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
But the flag lot is actually the lot in the back. 'Cause you have,
Well, the front.
you have this lot back here.
Right.
I'm sorry, this lot over
Yeah.
here. So the flag goes with this lot.
Right.
So-
Well,
so
but
this-
doesn't it also
So this
go
lot
with-
has its frontage here, but lot 1
I know what you're saying.
only fronts on the flagpole.
That doesn't comply. The lot in the back complies because it's connected by this 50-foot strip of land, which it owns. The lot in the middle, if that has no frontage on whatsoever on Croton Dam Road, that does not comply with zoning. I'll talk to John,
Yeah,
I'm sure about it. I'm sure about it. I
You know,
drafted it.
if you wrote the code,
Yeah.
that would, so I was wondering how that was gonna work.
So there would need to be either a variance with respect to 280A of the town law, or a variance from the zoning board of appeals for that.
This is the existing house. You want to divide, this is under construction now. And that's the flag lot.
Right.
So they're saying that this will be in isolation and not compliant.
No, that one will be non-compliant.
No.
No, this one is compliant, because it's got,
Lot one.
this has
Lot one,
frontage,
okay.
but
So,
this one becomes isolated.
Even though this one is not using its frontage, it has frontage on
It
Croton
has
Dam
Oh,
Road.
I
frontage.
see what you're saying, okay.
It's
All
not
right.
Its
using
access
it,
is off
that's
of,
fine.
it's got an easement over this lot, the flagpole.
right.
This lot has no frontage whatsoever. And that doesn't comply with zoning.
So this strip belongs to,
The entire strip
This-
belongs to
Yes.
one in the back, oh, I see, okay, yes.
Flag with a boot.
yeah, and so there's no way for them to share it?
Well, it's not the way it's designed right now.
Well,
Yeah, well, I'm just,
it's designed to share the driveway,
right,
but this is not being given its own strip of land to connect
Got,
it to the
I see
street.
what you're saying.
And if there were enough room, you could
Right.
resolve it by
But there's not-
buying a little strip down this side,
Yeah,
but that
but
would
when you
make it
want-
very tight. I don't think anyone
I
would
found a
want that.
piece of the zoning code. So basically, there's three sections, it's referring to street frontage.
Right.
So one provision, so there's three of them, A, B, and C. One of them is at least 50 feet of frontage on a street or highway, which is not. The next one is, if the main portion of the lot derives its frontage and access by means of a strip of land connecting the street and the main portion of the lot, that strip of land shall also be at least 50 feet in width.
Okay.
So that sounds like the lot in the back. And then, so the final one is notwithstanding A and B, a lot loaned individually and separately from any adjoining tracts of land on the effective date of this section, and which has at least 15 feet of frontage
Yeah,
on a
that's the
street or
grandfather.
highway as improved, as described in A and B, shall be deemed to have sufficient frontage for the purpose of this chapter.
Okay.
Read that one
That
again?
was just grandfather.
I don't know, I kept reading it.
That has no, that has.
That-
That
that's-
basically
that's
means for
basically-
old lots.
Oh,
Right,
okay,
that's
okay,
grandfathering in
grandfathering that
all
in.
non-conforming
Yeah, that was-
lots.
That doesn't apply.
Okay,
Yeah,
Because
so
the state law requires there to be some access.
Yeah,
says at least 15 feet, okay, yeah.
yeah,
All right.
just
So that's
grandfathering in a non-conforming,
Right, right,
so,
So this meets none of those.
right.
Right.
I don't know that we anticipated another lot here when we approved the last subdivision.
yeah, it might have made more
Right.
sense for them to. So they'd
Well.
have to go to.
Back to the drawing board?
Apparently,
Well, not necessarily the drawing board, but I'd like to take a look at this. Generally, over the last 40 years, we've had the applicant present the application, then we take it back and review it. So we can have a review memo for the next meeting, which would be more thorough than just,
Okay,
doing this sort of off the top of our heads.
okay.
and apparently there was some indication that there shouldn't be, we looked at this, I think originally with the prior application, that there shouldn't be any further subdivision of lot 2, but I don't know in what, if that ever made it to the plat itself.
Okay.
So I
Wanna take
think
a
we
look at that
reviewed the
too?
minutes, but let me re-review it and see.
Okay.
So we don't have to take any action at this time?
No, no.
All right.
We'll review it for the next meeting.
Okay, any further comments from the board?
None.
No? Okay. Thank you. We'll
Thank you
look forward to
for your
hearing
time.
from you again.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Okay, the
What
next,
was, what was the code section?
200-25.1.
And section B, sections A and B are drafted extremely well. I didn't work on C, so.
okay. The next item on the agenda is the Rinaldi subdivision on 39 Stonetown Road, 10-lot subdivision.
Just to refresh the planning board's memory, you granted preliminary subdivision plat approval on this about a month ago, more or less, and now JP is back for final subdivision plat approval.
Okay, good evening, and we submitted a set of plans, and the board is already familiar with the subdivision. We haven't changed anything since, and we have comment from Dan, and we are going through the comments. We don't see anything that will preclude us from making those changes for the next meeting, addressing some of the issues. I don't know if you want to go through the comments or...
Did you have a chance to look over the both sets of comments?
I should, yes. Most of the comments are in, technical and about the drawings. rearranging the numbers, showing the some labeling of the right of way. I read the NCRC's comments about, we consulted with the engineer about the first 300 feet of the road where that stormwater is going to. And we will provide a section so we can demonstrate the compliance with the average building height for lot 4. And then it's, I think the only comment that we have is that the engineer revised and is the side distance. Everything else seems to be items that we can address on the next meeting. And we had, one question we had was when, I know we had to name the road, when does that, I know it's kind of that comes
Later on.
during this, or,
I'm not sure how that works exactly, but it's later on.
okay.
I think the town picks the name based upon,
We give them a list of like the heroes, the fallen heroes.
Oh, we don't, we can come up with like JV's way.
You can't name it after yourself.
I'm sure that wasn't gonna be the name, but, okay,
But you can come and see us if, give you the list.
okay, we will do that. And the other item, I know that we have the wall against the club, so we're gonna, if you wanted to start looking, we were thinking of doing something like that. It's a veneer, it's gonna be a veneer.
So this is
Would that be-
solid stone, real
Yeah.
stone?
Yes, but it's gonna be,
Yeah.
the
But
wall is gonna be made out of concrete.
Right, I
So we-
understand
yeah.
that. So it's,
It's not gonna be, yeah.
but you're
it's a
talking
real
about
stone.
something very thin as opposed to like real stone? I mean, I understand that structurally you need it to be concrete behind,
Right,
but I thought we were going to line it with real stone.
yes, we can do that, there's, you're looking for a thickness, like 2 inches?
So this is like the pre-cut stuff that's like an inch thick sort of thing?
Yes.
Well, I mean,
It's, we can go
I guess
the-
it's real. I would rather it be like real field stone. I mean, you get a different look. But as long as it's materially real stone.
It is
I'm not gonna
real stone, I
complain.
think the
Yeah.
different, because fieldstone, to do a fieldstone wall, might as well do a fieldstone wall, but I prefer to keep it something more structurally as concrete and do stone veneer.
Yeah, okay. As long as it's real stone, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I think you guys are saying the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, fine.
Any other comments, Karen?
I have a question on tree replacement. You're proposing, you say, to plant almost 800 caliber inches of trees. My question to you is, what kind of trees are you planning on putting in?
You show it.
Have-
Yeah, there's a
You show it.
tree
Yeah, I think but I missed a meeting or two,
Sure,
so I'm
sure.
just,
Yeah.
if you could.
Why don't you spell, Carolyn, what type of trees? There's some cedar, I think.
Yes, we have eastern red cedar, we have a northern blackberry. On page S3, we have pictures of the trees as well as list.
I would bring that separate.
There's street trees on both sides of the cul-de-sac.
It's like a red cedar. We have the
141.
140.
Yeah.
Maybe you might diversify it a little bit.
Yeah, and we got 140 white pines mixed in with like 18 of this and 9 of that. I mean,
okay.
we're
We're
getting,
Getting a special deal on white pines, or?
I mean, just because white pines, they grow up and they leave this really large, kind of ugly gap at the bottom.
But where we're putting them, you are looking
Yeah.
from the bottom, so you're looking from a lower level, but we can diversify, that's
Yeah,
not,
I think, yeah,
that's not
I
it.
think a little more diversification would
Mhm.
be,
Yeah, just like we were talking about earlier,
yeah.
to, avoid, monoculture in any line.
Okay,
Okay.
and that's, we can take that.
Yeah, that was really
Okay,
good.
good.
Okay, thank you. I had seen it and I just couldn't. Yeah.
Any other comments, questions?
No.
What needs to be done with this?
JB is going to revise the plans.
Mhm.
The law basically says that you don't have to have a final public hearing or a public hearing on the final plat if the final plat is in substantial conformance with the preliminary plat, which this is. So, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. There's not really too much more to do. I could see us getting a resolution of final subdivision plat approval drafted after the next set of changes from JB.
Okay, so why don't we have
Dan, do you
a,
agree?
Yeah, from JB and from the site engineer.
Right,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Yes, we could just get down to the nitty-gritty now.
Right.
Yeah.
There are JB's plans and there's an engineer's plans.
Right.
okay, so there'll be at least one more meeting for this. January 15th, is that it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Does that structural
And I-
detail on that wall need to be on this set of drawings or the
yeah, it should be.
construction set?
It should be.
Okay.
Right, and I think we have two, there are two, we're gonna reduce it to one, because I think it's confusing, because we have two wall details,
Uh-huh.
so we're gonna reduce it to one wall detail. There is a structural wall detail.
Do you have someone working on the plat, the licensed land surveyor working on the plat yet?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so maybe what we do is you revise the plans, resubmit them, we review them until the planning board, they look good, and then we'll draft the resolution for the following meeting after that.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. Very good, thank you. Happy holidays.
Same thing.
All right, next item on the
Do you
agenda
mind
is,
asking?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, not opposed if anyone was here,
Yeah, we
but
have a chance next time again.
Just one question for you to consider in the future. When you get ready to actually design homes, are you thinking about any, things like solar panels or any other, or special energy saving features of the home?
We haven't discussed that with the client yet, but I mean, that's all come into play with, the sun exposure and the location of the house on the lot.
Mhm.
So we take all of it. And the new, the building code is very heavy in the energy side, so
Right,
we do take in all of that into account.
okay. Good, thank you.
Yeah, I guess they are southern facing, right? So
Yeah,
they're
Yeah.
good candidates.
yeah.
But there's also a lot of
They're
the
also
trees.
A lot of
that-
tree cover
Yeah.
too as well.
Yeah, no, okay, good.
And that's just for information, so all these houses, they all had to come one by one for like ARB approval, or they can be all done, if they have like, we can do all at once. I know that sounds like punishment.
Can we do 5 at a time?
Are they all gonna be the same house? No. I-
Yeah, and then we're gonna sit different.
Because that's been a
sides.
question,
Would you wanna show them all on one plan? In plan view, and then show elevations for,
Each house.
I think it's up to the planning board.
As long as-
because that's from, client and they're trying to move ahead, so, and I know that, they want to make sure that the ARB is, that we're gonna start going with one house, two houses, and then becomes an issue for
it
construction.
may make sense to see the whole, everything
Probably makes
together.
sense.
The more of
Because-
them you can do at one shot, the better.
Better.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
as long, provided that there's sufficient detail on each one,
Right,
that,
Yes.
we're not just making blanket statements.
right,
Yeah.
and, okay.
Okay,
Mhm. Right,
great, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda, I believe, is the minutes. Have folks had a chance to read them? Okay. Considering the October 2nd minutes, any comments, any revisions? Motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Second?
Second.
Any objections? Okay, approved minutes for October 2nd. The minutes for November 6th,
Move to approve.
Second.
no objections?
Nope.
Okay, we'll approve that as well. And at this time, I'd like to ask for ask for a move into executive session, and after that, would be adjourning automatically. Okay, have a motion to go into executive
So
session?
moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you.